In today's By the Way, we are taking a deeper look at the Idaho murder case that shocked the nation. As we mentioned earlier, Bryan Kohberger was sentenced to life without parole after pleading guilty to murdering 4 University of Idaho students back in 2022. Yesterday's sentencing hearing was full of heart-wrenching testimony from the families and loved ones of the victims. We want to take a moment to play a bit of what was said in court.
He may have shattered parts of me, but I'm still putting myself back together, piece by piece.
After everything happened, I was afraid to go into my own backyard or alone in my house. I was scared that the person who did this would come for me next.
It's the only great thing I ever really did, and the only thing I was really ever proud of. When I wasn't wanting to live anymore, she was what would keep me from just not caring anymore, and knowing that she was out there and that she was just such a beautiful person kept me alive a lot.
The innocent life of Xana that you stole from myself and my family, and the destruction, I am washing my hands of you.
Oh boy, the father and sister of Kaylee Gonzalez used their time to deliver statements directly to Kohberger, and they did not hold back.
The world's watching because of the kids, not because of you. Nobody cares about you. You're not worth the time, the effort to be remembered. In time, you will be nothing but 2 initials forgotten to the wind.
But the truth is, you're basic. You're a textbook case of insecurity disguised as control. Let me be very clear. Don't ever try to convince yourself you mattered just because someone finally said your name out loud. I see through you.
CBS News correspondent Jonathan Vigliotti and producer Amanda Arden have been covering this trial and were in the courtroom yesterday. They joined us now from Boise, Idaho, and Nate is here with us at the table. You were following this very closely yesterday.
Yeah.
Good morning, Jonathan and Amanda. Thank you so much for all of your reporting on this story throughout the years. Jonathan, let's start with you. There was so much emotion in the courtroom. You had reported earlier there was not even a dry eye in the house, even among the press corps that was there.
No.
Do you think, from speaking to the family members afterward, that this did help in some way, provide maybe some kind of closure?
I've come to understand this moment as cathartic for these family members. It was the first time they came face to face with Bryan Kohberger, looking him directly in the eyes, telling him all that he took away from them. There was this really incredible spectrum of grief that I think we both witnessed. Crying, there was anger, there was even a moment of forgiveness. I think underlining all of this, families expressing their desire from this point forward to move on, but you can't ignore all of the questions that still remain. Paramount in all of this, the motive. Bryan Kohberger at no point gave any explanation for why he committed these brutal crimes. The judge, at one point in his statements, struggling to hold back tears, called Bryan Kohberger a coward while urging the families there to move on from needing to understand why, saying even if Kohberger gave any kind of explanation, it would likely be a lie, Adriana.
And Amanda, each victim impact statement was incredibly powerful, but Olivia, the sister of she spoke, and it was something that really hit me, how she dismantled this persona that Bryan Kohberger has built. And she spoke directly to his soul, making sure that she peeled back the layers of what he felt like his ego was when he walked into that courtroom. What was the reaction in there?
Yeah, Nate, we heard everything from sadness to memories, but when Olivia took the stand, stepped up to the podium, it was anger. It was, saying he doesn't deserve their mercy, he doesn't deserve sentiment. And she said that Kaylee and Maddie would have been friends with him, that if he was invisible to everyone else, they would have seen him. She called him a wannabe, she called him pathetic, and we just felt her wrath throughout. Really, that was kind of a theme with the Gonzalez family, while others, again, reflected on those memories, were sad, were very emotional. You could really feel a lot of anger coming from the Gonzalezes still.
It was almost like she found her voice. There was this incredible amount of power and almost like she was taunting Bryan Kohberger, almost daring him to open up his mouth to give an explanation. And I felt like it almost was going to work.
You know, Amanda, Jonathan, the reason they go through this whole process and not just stamp 4 life terms on a piece of paper and send them off is because the families are supposed to go from the condition of raw grief to something else. And I'm curious, Amanda, when you were there with the families, how did they seem? What was the dynamic after the statements, after the sentencing, when all this had come to pass?
Yeah, Tony, nobody left that courtroom quickly. There was a lot of hugging at the end. Tears were shed throughout. There were waves of grief throughout. But even at the end, people were still crying, hugging. Karen Laramie, she stuck around for a long time at the end of the day, hugging everyone who walked past, who approached her. And we just saw tissues littering the benches. There wasn't a dry eye in the room. And it was the end of a long journey for these families. They talked about how this has united them. This has created sort of its own family of survivors.
Yeah, and you know, we've heard from other victims' families that you never move on, you move forward, but you never move on. That's the dynamic. Nate, thanks for being here. You were texting about this yesterday, following it very closely. And Jonathan, Amanda, thank you for your months of coverage at this point. Really powerful stuff.